Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. It is January 15th, the year of our Lord 2023. So it seems that Putin held an interview with a news broadcasting television network there in Russia. And according to the reports here, as we're about to read from Reuters, he seems very pleased with the war that is taking place in Ukraine, or rather, as Russia calls it, the special military operation. But I think that even Russia sympathizers would admit this is a war. It's far past the point of any special military operation. However, of course, it's not an all-out war. Russia isn't using all its armaments as it would in an actual war. But the scale of the conflict, right, and the fact that the United States, Britain, and NATO are involved, it pretty much means that it is a war. So we know that the most recent successes for the Russians were at the city of Soledar, which is down here, a very strategic city, of course. It was very important for Ukraine since it allowed them to send supplies over to the city of Bakhmut, which itself is a very symbolic and strategic center for the Ukrainian resistance. But since Bakhmut, as I've been reporting in these last couple of days, is pretty much under Russian control, as you can see here, this is the live UA map, which is pro-Ukrainian, and they themselves here have put it under Russian control. The Ukrainians are still trying to downplay it a little bit. They say that there's fighting still going on, but most of these pro-Western analysts are saying that it's very unlikely that there's any Ukrainians inside of Soledar at this point. So, yeah, you can see here that Russia has taken control of Soledar, so the idea now is that they are now going to try and take Bakhmut, and once they do take Bakhmut, then that is going to pretty much give them control of this whole area, since the Ukrainian forces are going to have to essentially push back to the next two major cities here, Kramatorsk and Slovyansk. But in the light of all this, it seems that Putin is very pleased with the situation, and yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this article here. So it says Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the military operation in Ukraine had gained positive momentum and that he hoped his soldiers would deliver more wins after Russia claimed control of the eastern Ukrainian salt mining town of Soledar. Now, this is Reuters. They are also a pro-Western news website. Russia said on Friday that its forces had taken control of Soledar, a rare success for Moscow after months of battlefield reverses. The dynamic is positive, Putin told Rossiya One State television when asked about the taking of Soledar. Quote, everything is developing within the framework of the plan of the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff, end quote. Quote, and I hope that our fighters will please us even more with the results of their combat, end quote, Putin said. Putin now casts the war in Ukraine as an existential battle with an aggressive and arrogant West, and has said that Russia will use all available means to protect itself and its people against any aggressor. Of course, I've covered in other videos that, Russia, or at least some of the ministers there, are claiming that, this is a war really against NATO, Britain, and the United States. A regional governor in Ukraine on Saturday said that Ukrainian forces were still fighting to retain control of Soledar. Again, this is contrary to even the pro-Western media news sources, as we're even seeing here from Reuters. The Washington-based Institute for the Study of War said it was highly unlikely that Ukrainian forces still held positions within Soledar itself. So that pretty much settles it, guys, because if you go to the Institute for the Study of War, these guys have been analyzing the war since the beginning, and they're very very pro-Ukrainian. All their predictions are like very positive and very, uh, I would say, wishful thinking. And they themselves are admitting here, as you can see, that it's very unlikely that Ukrainian forces still hold positions within Soledar itself. Routers could not immediately verify the situation in Soledar. Neither side published up-to-date figures on the death toll from the war. Uh, Looks like Putin here also talked about the economy. He's very pleased. Although the West has imposed what it says are unprecedented sanctions on Russia over the war in Ukraine, the economy of the world's biggest producer of natural resources has shown resilience. Putin says Russia is now turning away from the West and will trade with Asian powers such as China and India, who, again, are, I would say, partners of Russia. The situation in the economy is stable, Putin said, much better than not only what our opponents predicted, but also what we forecast. Putin said unemployment was a key indicator. Unemployment is at a historic low, inflation is lower than expected, and has importantly a downward trend. Russia's economy contracted in 2022 under the weight of sanctions, but way less than the collapse many economists forecasted. Many sectors, such as aviation and automaking, have been badly hit, and some economists say the rise in weapons productions has cushioned the contraction. The 2.1 trillion economy is forecast by the Russian government to contract by 0.8% in 2023. So yeah, there you have it. It seems that those economic sanctions are not having the effect that the Western powers thought it was going to have. Again, say what you want to say. You can say that the Ukrainians are inflicting a lot of casualties on Russia. Fact of the matter is that sources from both sides pretty much agree that Russia is continuing to have victories on the battlefield as they did here in Soledar. Again, there's major fighting going on in Bakhmut, and if that collapses, that's going to be a major loss for Ukraine. And I'm sure that the Russians are going to become very encouraged by these recent successes, along with these missile strikes that we're seeing. They are going to attempt to continue to march forward here, especially if Ukraine doesn't veto for some sort of peace, which is very unlikely because Zelensky seems to be very stubborn on this matter. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye out on that, guys. Anyways, I'll have some more videos coming here shortly. That's going to be it for this, guys. So it seems that Putin is very pleased with what is going on now, and he seems to be expecting more victories here. Of course, when he's talking about the economy and things can be inflated. All governments do this. Even the United States does this, right? Joe Biden, they try to downplay inflation and the economy and all of these things. But, we can extrapolate from all this information that these sanctions definitely did not ruin Russia. They still have major allies or countries that are willing to work with them, such as China, which is pretty much all you need, right? If China would have condemned Russia and stopped business with Russia, that probably would have damaged Russia a lot more. But again, China sort of is at odds with the United States also. So the fact of the matter is that even though the West put these sanctions on Russia, there are still a lot of other major economies that are doing business with them. So yeah, that seems to be the situation there for Russia right now. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, guys. And remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.